So the Sorcery Pack for Planet Coaster 2 has been out for about a week now, and due to Frontier kindly giving me early access and me not really having a social life, I've got about 100 hours in it. And honestly, it's great. After a bit of a rocky start with the game's launch last year, the Sorcery Pack is a real true return to form. It added probably the most requested roller coaster in the game, some other fun ride additions, and a whole load of really great scenery. And honestly, I really do think it's good. You can head over to a scenery review where I look at all of it properly, and I think I rate it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, and I kind of stand by that. But there are definitely a few misses that really would have pushed it over into that 9 or 10 out of 10 for me, and Frontier are always saying that they're always watching. So here is my hopefully positive and constructive criticism for the pack. I'm certainly not saying that you shouldn't get this pack or that it's not worth it without these things. I'm really more hoping that these things are maybe something they can look at for future packs, because they're all little things that aren't necessarily specific to the Sorcery Pack. They're just little niggles that I'd really like to see addressed as we move forward with the development of the game. First of all is scaling. Now, those of you who have been a fan of the channel for a while, and also maybe more importantly fans of some other incredible detailers or realistic builders out there in the Planet series of games, will know that we've always sort of had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the scale of the items in the game. They're often very large, sometimes even comically so. With Planet Coaster 2, they did add in the ability to scale the majority of the non-gridded items, and that really has been a lifesaver. But it also, in part, points out just how big some of the stuff is. Now, we understand with some of these larger buttress and wall pieces, it is a core game design element for all of this stuff to be a little bit overscaled, so that people can build these big, wacky, crazy castles and what have you. And that's fine, and something as a more sort of detailed and sort of semi-realism focused builder that I have to deal with. But there are pieces in this pack that have a scale and really should stick to it that seemingly doesn't. For instance, take a look at some of these doors. Now, you could argue that this is meant to be a grand keep door that is the entrance to a castle. It is called a tall double, but at 100% it is absolutely huge. Whereas this one, you could argue, is more of a normal single standard door. It's still a little bit big. You can kind of let these ones off because they're keep pieces, they're built for a big castle. But if we take a look at the other set, the town piece, and take a look at this door specifically, this is just a regular door, and you can see that the handle, with it being 100% scaled, is basically at the chest height, or the head almost, of the stone guest here. That is also the size of a guest in the game. It's comically too big, to the point where it may well be just a mistake, because a lot of the other stuff is a little bit more sort of where you would expect it to be. But here's another one. This one here, again, if we bring it over, you can see that handle just being at chest height or over chest height. It just makes the pieces very difficult to use. Now, yes, there is scaling involved, but the problem with scaling is if you bring it down to where the door should be, which is probably closer to there, you're already at 64%, and they only go down to 50, obviously 50 being a bit too small there. But the problem is it kind of negates the usefulness of the scaling ability if you have to scale everything down to that sort of 50 or 60% just to make it normal quote-unquote size. I've recently been building a model village in one of my builds. It's actually quite difficult to do because a lot of the pieces, even scaled down as much as they will be, end up still being unusable for a small build. If this piece was actually around about this size to begin with, as it probably should be for a door, if you could then go half of that size, you could use it for fun little builds, little gnome houses, little miniature pieces, that kind of thing. That door piece is probably the most egregious in the set, but there are others as well. These candles, for instance, are absolutely ginormous. Even the small one comes up to the thighs of this character, and even shrinking them down as small as they'll go, they're still incredibly large candles. It's sort of things that you don't really see in real life. And these spider webs as well. Now, yes, they're meant to be made by a giant spider that we have as an animatronic, but even still, if we could scale these smaller, or if they perhaps started at this size and would go half, we'd be able to use them in the corners of rooms, in haunted houses and what have you. This is the smallest they will go, and at this size they're still only really useful in the largest of set pieces. Now, the game has a scale, and overall it's a little bigger than I would like, but it isn't just a case of making everything from now on a bit smaller, because it wouldn't necessarily work with the stuff that's already in the game. I think a perfect fix for this would be allow us to scale to maybe 20% of that 100 as part of the base game. There's obviously a scaling mod out there, but we shouldn't really have to rely on mods for basic accessibility in the gameplay. So please, Frontier, make everything a little smaller, or at least let us make it a little bit smaller. Well, that's doors. Now, how about windows? The windows in the game are really fantastic, especially these two bay ones here. Yes, they've got a bit of a sorcery vibe to them, but also I think they're quite generic and can be used in a lot of different Main Street builds. And this one, again, just a nice generic window. The problem is they're all very opaque. They have this sort of shine on them, so they're sort of fake windows, and overall I don't hate the shine. I think it looks fine, but it'd be really nice to have another option of each of these with actual glass panes in them. The game is very focused on interiors. There's lots of different dark rides. It's also added gift shops and restaurants where the vibe is to build them indoors. There's seating, there's shelving, sort of things that you wouldn't have open to the elements. So if you want us to build these interiors, you kind of need to give us the windows that allow us to look into those interiors and also look out from those interiors when we're inside in guest view. Personally, I'd like to see each window come as 3 options. The first being just like this, a sort of shiny sort of faux mirror effect. A second one that has glass that you can actually see through for building interiors. And then the third, I would like to see them return to something like the windows that I think were in the Spooky Pack or maybe came later in Planet Coaster 1, where the windows light up at night time. That was a really great option, even if that was a toggle or as a third window. I would really love that as an option because it'd be nice to be able to do that automatically without having to sort of sync signs or lights in to generate that effect. It's all little things like this that they could just dial up a little, give us all of those different options. They would really make these packs and the game in general just absolutely pop and explode. Talking of gift shops, actually get a little sneaky peek at a Meanderville gift shop that I'm working on currently. There was no additions to the gift shops in the Sorcery Pack, and I feel like this is a real miss after adding these gift shops in that are incredible. Just to have nothing added for them with a DLC seems like a real miss. The 5 base themes of the game all have a t-shirt, a baseball cap, a mug, and then a few other little bits and bobs for each of them. I would really love to have seen that carry over with Vesper appearing on shirts and cups, and then maybe some wand boxes with wands in maybe, or even just a stuffy of a little dragon or the spider or what have you. There is a single item added called the Spellcaster's Hat, but it actually only appears as part of Hats Fantastic, not as a piece that will appear in the modular gift shops, unfortunately. So it's nice that there's something here, and occasionally you'll see guests wander around wearing these hats, but I feel like retexturing a couple of items that are already in the game and giving us a new plushie, again, it's just a little thing that would really help tie that new DLC into people's current parks. The same can be said for stores in general. I think eventually we might see a DLC similar to World's Fair that just adds a load of new brands, the food brands. But wouldn't it be great to see, a potions drink store, or pumpkin pies, candy apples, or even an IP skirting every flavour jelly bean or something. I think the point I'm trying to make with this is if you provide all of these different features in the game and each DLC you bring in adds a little thing to each of those features, it instantly makes the DLC feel like it's going to be useful for everybody no matter how they play the game. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the lack of Halloween pieces. Now yes, this isn't a spooky pack, but it definitely has a spooky vibe and it has come out relatively near to Halloween. It's probably the only DLC we'll see before Halloween this year. And I won't hark on this because we're not even in October yet. There is a chance we see a little free update with some bits and bobs in, but if that's not the case, I do think it's a bit of a miss not to provide a handful of Halloween themed props to really add to this pack and satiate the people who just wanted to see Spooky Pack bought from PC1 over into PC2. A handful of pumpkins, a selection of bones, and a couple of other more traditional haunted house pieces would have gone a long way. So there you go. That's just some of the things I would like to have seen in the Sorcery Pack to really dial it up to 11. Again, it isn't a bad pack. I actually think it's fantastic, as you can probably tell from the fact that I've had a video every single day since it came out covering it. But there's definitely a few areas where it falls flat, and I think that extra 10%, that extra little attention to detail would really, really go a long way. I'd love to know in the comments whether you're enjoying the pack, whether you agree with the things I've said here, or you think I'm just being pernickety. Please let me know either way. Thanks so much for watching. Love you all to bits. Till the next one, be good.